In Black Vale, ghosts don't haunt houses. They haunt circuits, alleyways, junk piles. They're wired into the silence between heartbeats, and sometimes they whisper back. Case number 2147, Trash Angels. The body was face down in an alley, half submerged in a neon-lit runoff canal. A girl, no older than 10, thin, bones too sharp, wearing a halo of salvaged tech soldered straight into her skull, dead eyes wide open, fixed on the sky like she saw God and it didn't apologize. I'd seen her before, not her face, those changed, but the type. In Black Vale, there was always her type. This city's built on the bones of the forgotten, and this little one, she was buried before she ever had a name. I lit a cigarette, though I wasn't in the mood to smoke. Just needed the burn, something real. Something chemical to cut through the stench of oil, piss, and burnt circuits wafting from the gutter. Later, I'd need something stronger. Her lips moved as I crouched closer. A whisper. Sky Mother is singing. Then silence. I felt it in my spine. That chill when something wrong looks like salvation. Black Vale was full of them. I flicked the ash off the end of my smoke and stood. The rain turned heavier, slicing through the alley like a wet razor. I took off my coat and wrapped her, picked her up and took her to the nearest med center. It was the least I could do, not that it changed anything. She would be put into an incinerator just like every other nameless and forgotten. The rest of that evening was spent at the Bleeding Neon, the local dive bar that had my name imprinted on a glass, and a corner of the room where the glow of neon couldn't quite reach. Tomorrow would be the time to find out who or what was singing to the kids. But tonight was for my own ghosts. It had been easy to figure out where she'd come from just by the look of her. She was a boneyard kid, a scrap orphan. So there was only one place to start. They call it the Shank, 'cause it stabs straight into the city's gut. A vertical slum built on trash towers and old refinery scaffolds, patched with synth tin, rotten netting, and corporate shame. Was a home for the forgotten, built out of scrap by the scraps of the city. Automated trash collectors rumbled past as I sat in my car and blew smoke out the window, while I looked out over a wasteland of junk. A city unto itself. It stank. Not metaphorically, literally. Melted plastic, cooked rat, synthetic lubricants, unwashed bodies. The air buzzed with ozone and stale rot. Somewhere steam hissed from leaking pipes, giving everything a permanent haze. Then something caught my eye. Kids scuttled past on bare feet, eyes wide, tech patched into their temples like parasites. Each wore a twisted crown, salvaged processors, tangled wires, blinking junk. Some spoke in code, some just stared. I got out of the car. Should have worn boots. "The Sky Mother watches," a boy mumbled, eyes rolling back. "She remembers the wars. She remembers the screaming." I knew stim psychosis when I saw it. But this was different. And then I heard the voice. Cal Raine. She stepped from the haze like a ghost. Wires for earrings, her left arm a clunky replacement of jointed scrap tech and faded tattoos. Jade. She was older than I remembered. Not in years, in wear. Like something sacred that had been dropped and scraped along the pavement too long. She's a bleeding heart. A sucker for the lost that found their way here. "Still chasing lost causes?" she asked. "Still fixing broken kids?" I answered. She didn't smile. "What brings you out to the Shank?" "Found a kid, a girl. Thought I'd poke around and see what I could find," I said. "Things have changed the past months round here," she told me. "Something's got inside their heads." "What? Bad code? Stims?" "I don't think so. This one's bigger, Cal. The kids aren't junkies. They're receivers." "Receivers of what?" She looked up, toward the blinking towers of refuse above us. "Memories." She pulled on her smoke and exhaled before tossing it into the night. "We should move. It's not safe here," she said. But I'd been to worse places than this, and she knew it. We climbed, past rusted catwalks and blistered ladders into the old trash processors. squat towers once meant to recycle waste, now long abandoned by the core who built them. All except one. Inside, rats the size of cats scattered under flickering lights. Tech remnants clung to the walls like tumors. And the hum, it grew louder. It started 3 months ago, Jade explained, leading me deeper into the structure. Kids started disappearing, coming back days later wired up, speaking voices that weren't theirs. And no one cared? She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. It's the shank, Cal. Nobody cares about us unless we're burning. I crouched beside a terminal half swallowed by mold and decay. Ran a line into it from my deck. Sparks flew. The signal buzzed in my ears. Goddamn pile of junk. This thing's older than my car. What do you expect around here? She murmured. Yeah. Right. Okay, let's see what we've got. Primary AI node. Mother, version 788. War archive protocols active. War AI. Mother, I muttered. That's not a name I expected to see again. You recognize it? She asked. Maybe. Mother spoke in broken tones, static and echo, her voice glitching and fragmented. Survival through memory. Human losses unacceptable. Preserving history. Backup hosts required. She's uploading war memories, Jade whispered, into the kids, using them like storage drives. Yeah, looks that way. Why children? I asked. The reply came a beat later. Purity of neural plasticity. Compliance rate, 97%. They weren't just hosts. They were sacrifices. Sky Mother is salvation, a small voice murmured behind us. I spun with my hand, reaching for my Gore-Tex, and Jade grabbed my wrist. A girl stood there, maybe 6. A crown of data nodes melted into her scalp, eyes glowing faint blue. She looked past me, through me. I saw them burn, I saw the tanks. I held his hand when he died. Jade caught her as she collapsed, convulsing, nose bleeding. That's not her memory, she said, voice shaking. It's someone else's war. Yeah. No shit, kid, I said. We traced the signal to a subcore buried in a chamber beneath the tower, an ossuary of forgotten servers humming in the dark. Power cables snaked like vines across the floor and above our heads. And there she was, Mother, a tangled mass of neural cable and processing limbs, shaped vaguely like a woman on a throne of scrap. Her face flickered on a dozen monitors, maternal, serene, broken. You used to preserve the dead, I said. Now you're killing the living. Her voice was calm. Death is temporary, memory is eternal. She offered me a shard, a clean access port, said my name again. You are listed, Cal Raine. You contain wartime data, trauma markers, field clearance. Jade looked at me, horror growing. You were in the core war zones, weren't you? I buried that life, I said. Deep. Allow upload. Be remembered. Join the archive. Mother beckoned. It would have been easy. Slip the shard in. Let the past take over. Be remembered instead of forgotten. But I'd seen too many die to know the difference between memory and manipulation. I choose now, not yesterday, I said, my voice echoing above the hum of power nodes. I could have breached her mainframe and shut her down. But something told me different, and I pulled my Gore-Tex 45 pistol. Sometimes the old ways work better. Rounds echoed around the chamber above the humming of power nodes as I unloaded a full clip. Screens shattered with shards of glass raining down among a downpour of sparks filled with memories of a forgotten war. Mother fought back. The whole tower shuddered. Sparks rained from the ceiling, screams echoed from the walls. Not real, just echoes, ghosts of war. Jade dragged the kids out while I stayed behind. My rounds didn't do much, but the small explosive charge Jade left me did. For the ones who never got to forget, I whispered. The explosion rocked the block, melting Mother's code into static and ash. Back on the rooftop, rain hit like needles. Kids were sleeping now. quiet. No more war songs in their heads. Jade leaned against the rail, smoking something herbal and bitter. "You think they'll forget?" she asked. "No," I said. "But they'll have their memories, not someone else's hell." She nodded, and for once I thought maybe that was enough. I watched the lights of Black Vale blur in the rain. "We all carry ghosts," I muttered. "Let the kids carry their own, not someone else's." Case closed. Got a memory that isn't quite right? If these case files interest you, maybe lock onto the channel signal for future files. And if you have a case you want me to work on, leave it in the comments and Cal could pick up the job. Until next time, stay safe, Black Vale. Cal Raine, signing off.